Hey guys, welcome back to Mopar Life, and I thought this would be a fun video to do, is go over some of the cars that I've owned in my last 35 years or however long I've been driving. And now I don't have all of them. I couldn't find pictures of all of them, and really I couldn't remember some of them. But I did dig back deep in the archives and come up with most of the cars that led me up from my first car when I was 16. I got from my grandparents, which I would do anything to get back, but Lord knows where that thing's at now, all the way up into this car that I've got right now. But I just wanted to say, you know, the car culture is so much fun. If you are not a car guy or a car gal, then you don't really get it. You just get in your car and you go from point A to point B. But being car people, car enthusiasts, you know, such a good camaraderie. And I've met so many friends throughout the years just at car shows or just driving around and having cars and people coming up to and saying, hey, I really like that. Well, cool, you want to check it out? And you know, letting them live their car dreams through me sometimes. And I'm the same way. If I see a car that I love, you know, I want to stop and look at it, and hopefully the owner will be like I am and say, yeah, check it out, I'd love for you to see it, it's awesome. But anyway, I may talk kind of fast because when I was putting this together, it turns out it's a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. But it was fun and nostalgic going back and looking through. So I'd appreciate it if you would just come along with me on a little trip down my memory lane. And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the comments. I'd love it if you guys would put some comments down in the comment section about your favorite cars, or cars that you've owned that you wish you had back, or even some of the cars that I have that you like, and just your input. I love reading the comments. And you know, some of you guys are going to say, why did you sell that one? I can't believe you should have kept that. Well, my philosophy on that is, if I would have kept it, then I wouldn't have had the one after it, the one after that. And I just love cars, all cars. I've got a little bucket list of cars that I want to own. And right now on that bucket list is this beautiful Scat Pack wide body Challenger, and I'm loving the heck out of it. And hopefully you guys are too. So remember, keep those car dreams alive, and chase your car dream if you're a car guy, car gal, and don't ever stop. And then one day you'll be behind the wheel of your beautiful ride that you've been dreaming about your whole life, and you'll be loving it. And if you see me on the freeway like one of my subscribers did last week, make sure you give me a honk and a wave, and I'll try and give you a show if I can. So anyway, sit back and enjoy the video, and I appreciate you guys watching. And make sure you leave a comment about what you drive. I'd love to see it. Enjoy. Oh yeah. On your Dodge Challenger Scat Pack. Well, here's the first car ever, 1972 and 1972 brown Mercury Cougar. My grandparents gave me this car when I was 16 years old, and I loved it. It had the blinking lights like the new Mustangs do on the turn signals that go blink, blink, blink. It was fast, but man, was it brown. And here's a picture of my grandfather and me in the car when I was just a little kid. Loved that car, but it broke a lot, so I ended up trading it in for a it was either 85 or 86 Dodge Lancer ES Turbo. And man, I thought I was awesome with the turbo, and it was even in this color, and I called it Racing Burnt Sienna to all my friends. And it talked when you open the door is ajar. I loved it. Then I got rid of that car after it got hail damage and got a car that looks just like this, black 91 Eagle Talon. I thought I was the bandit. I had a CB radio in there, and I even had a license plate frame that said I go 120 in the slow lane. I was such a scofflaw on that thing. And I got rid of that. And when I was in college, got me a 96 Mitsubishi Eclipse in this purple color, and ended up selling that after a while and upgrading to a 1997 Mitsubishi GST Turbo in manual. And there's me and my brother in Victory Lane in it. And of course I had to rice it up as best I could. I started putting stickers on it, lowered it, put wheels on it. I even, if you look in that picture, you can see the big tachometer I had on the dash, because I had to get those shift points just right, baby. And I'm telling you, if anybody knows how to get me on VinWiki, I've got about 1,000 stories to tell with this car. And from doing things I shouldn't have done. Me and my cousin got pulled over in this car leaving the Fast and Furious movie, and the officer looked at me and said, "You're too old for this." Man, listen to that blow-off valve, though. Oh, I missed that. I love it. And anyway, that was a couple of vets. You see what's coming. So also had a 1979 Corvette, and loved that thing. It had some metallic paint on it, and it was so beautiful. And then I also had a 1993 Corvette at the same time as that one. That's beginning my Corvette phase. And there's my cousin driving it in a parade. I had the Eclipse, a couple of cars in front of him doing the parade. So anyway, I got smoked in that car pretty bad by a C5 Corvette, so I said time to get rid of it and enter the first C5 Corvette that I had. I ended up having about 5 or 6 of these. I love the C5 Corvette. And there I am looking super cool next to it. Got the squat, got the lean. That thing had a boreless Stinger exhaust. There's me and my cousin. He had his Trans Am, and I had my Corvette convertible. And this is pictures from a road trip that we took to see our grandfather one weekend. It was awesome. And then for a short time, I decided to explore some Mustangs, and I bought this Mustang. It was only a V6, but it was a manual, and I had a lot of fun with it. And painted those brakes yellow, and I sold it to a girl, and she said, "I don't like these brakes." I said, "I don't know who did that." Anyway, then I've always wanted a 300ZX. A buddy of mine in high school had one, and I was always real jealous because I was driving that racing burnt sienna Dodge Lancer ES Turbo. So later I said, you know what, I think it'd be fun to try and find me a 300ZX. So I got me one, and mine was the manual transmission, and it was a blast. I had a lot of fun with it, put that exhaust on it, made it sound awesome. Then comes the big daddy, the 96 Dodge Viper GTS. And let me tell you, that car was, of course, amazing. And that's one of the cars that everybody's going to say, gee, why didn't you keep that? Why would you ever sell that car? I can't believe it. But you see my custom license plate, venomous. And that's one of the things, you know, I would love to have kept it, but I really barely had the money to afford the car in the first place, and I bought it with a warranty. And after the warranty went out, after about a year and a half, I ended up selling it because I was too worried that if something broke, I wouldn't be able to fix it. Of course, I didn't know back then just exactly how reliable these cars were, and how little issues the Viper motors even caused. So, I mean, really, because you see these cars still around today, the ones that didn't get wrecked, and they still drive great, and they're still reliable. There's a lot of these Viper GTSs running around with well over 100,000 miles, and that was a great car. This picture, of course, was when I first bought it with those Wisconsin plates. And then I started my Supra phase because, of course, you know, Fast and Furious. I bought this wingless and had a great story to go with this one. I bought it in North Carolina. Went down to the airport from East Texas to Houston, jumped on a plane, switched planes in Georgia, and then flew to North Carolina, met the guy at the airport. I checked out the car, gave him the check, pulled the top off, and I drove it all the way home from North Carolina all the way back to East Texas. And it was so much fun. It took me forever. I tried to stop in Louisiana, but turns out I'd forgotten there was a hurricane and everybody had evacuated and I couldn't get a hotel. So I just went over to the IHOP in Shreveport and had a Colorado omelet and 6 Dr. Peppers and made it back into my driveway exactly 24 hours after I left. But what a fun trip that was. And then I got another Supra at the same time as that one. This one I think was a 97 maybe. I can't really remember the year. But for some reason I had to have this one. It had the body kit on it, the 90s looking chrome wheels, and had the big spoiler, which was awesome. And of course the chameleon paint, which was just too cool for school back then. You had to have that. But in my town, not a lot of people had the Supras, so it was awesome that I got to have what ended up being 3 different Supras. And you can see the C5 convertible I had. Some of these are out of order because I can't remember exactly when I had these. But I did sell the blue one and the red one, and then later get this black one. And this was a manual, naturally aspirated, but with a single turbo. And it was so fast, and the whooshes and sounds it made were awesome. And these pictures were taken at a car show that I was going to look at cars, but this guy was like, man, I love this Supra. You don't see these all the time. You got to put it in the show. And turns out I did, and ended up winning some awards, and even beat out the guy that just begged for me to bring the car into the show. But it was awesome. And of course, when I sold this car, the guy called me on the phone on the way home and said, I love it. I can't believe you sold me this car. It's so amazing. And then for a short time, I had a BMW 540i. And I think those things were pretty close to 300 horsepower. It was a fun car. I kind of wanted something luxurious. And I had known somebody that had one for a while, and I really enjoyed theirs way back when they came out. This was like a 98, I think. And of course, you know, once they're much, much older, then I could afford one. And of course, we had a blast driving that one. I put some updated wheels on it. Then continued on with the C5s. I got another, I think this one was a 2000 model, black convertible with the chrome wheels. Also had the exhaust on it. And then had a little SLK 230 for a short time, one of my motorcycles. You can kind of see in the background the garage is evolving from the original cars. And then I got another car, 98 C5, and I loved this thing. Ended up selling it to a coworker, and he loved it. And what we loved most about it were those wheels, those snowflake wheels. I took this car to a Vets and Jets on the Lex down in Corpus Christi, and where we had over 300 Corvettes on the USS Lexington. And turned out nobody else had those wheels. It was so awesome to have it stand out like that so much, because they were machine finished face, but then they still had some black on them, and they were just beautiful. And the kids loved it, and I loved it too. So this was really the one that I had probably the longest. And we would take it on barbecue runs with friends. And here's a picture of it out at a barbecue run where we had another Mercedes AMG, another white C5. And my kids liked it because the top comes off, and it was a blast. And ended up, after I sold that to a coworker, ended up getting another 98 C5 a little bit later, and painted those calipers blue. And they didn't have the snowflakes anymore, so I went with these also machine face wheels, which I thought were amazing. Took that one up to the Lone Star Corvette show up at the Speedway, Texas Motor Speedway, and that was a blast. Big car show there, 250, 300 vets. It was awesome. Then I ended up buying another 04, I think this was, I can't remember, out of Corpus, and brought it home. And it had just a couple cosmetic issues, but that's what I love doing for fun, if you can believe that. So I fixed the seats up, the carpet, the paint, and I put different wheels on it. Those are the 5-spoke alloys that came on. I ended up changing it out to some chrome 5 spokes, as you can see right here, and polished it up, and it was beautiful. And then ended up selling that one off and bought a my favorite color C5 Corvette ever, this medium spiral gray metallic. I love that color. Always wanted to own one. Saw this great deal on this one and ended up buying it. And you can kind of see in the background, it's parked next to my other Corvette, because I had just gotten this C5 Z06 when I was up at that Corvette show in Fort Worth at Texas Motor Speedway. I fell in love with a black C5 Corvette and said, man, I've got to find one of those. That is going to be my next car. And so I searched and searched when I got home and found that black C5 Z06 that you see on the left there in the garage. And that was my baby for a while. I really loved that car. Didn't want to get rid of it. But the medium spiral gray metallic was a fun one while I had, but I ended up selling that to a guy that would later become a friend as well. And this is the C5Z that I picked up down in Kingwood, and man, I had a blast with that car. And I put those wheels on. When I originally got it, it had some C6 Z06 wheels, which I wasn't a big fan of, so I changed the wheels out. And there's me and my daughter working on the spoiler. Anytime I had to put it in the shop to get anything done on it, I always had to take that front spoiler off because it was too low and it would hit. And so it was lowered, as you can see, and it had the wide body kit on it. It had headers, had a really nice stereo. And the only bad thing about the Z06 is that I wasn't used to was the top doesn't come off, but still well, it made up for it in the fun factor with the performance. It had 4 10-inch subwoofers in the trunk. I mean, it was just an amazing car all around. Lots of show, lots of go. It was absolutely beautiful. And here's my daughter posing with it in the garage. And you can see some of the pictures in the background kind of come and go with some of the cars that I've had over time. But this was after I had spent lots of time doing some paint correction on it, and got the paint looking how I wanted, nice and shiny and glossy and beautiful. And just what a fantastic car. All right, here comes the sleeper, the 2009 C63 AMG. And man, I was not ready for how awesome this car was going to be. I kind of bought it on a whim. We were down at a monster truck show in Houston. I'd been looking at it online. It was on Craigslist, and I'm like, man, this just seems like a really good deal for what looks like a really awesome car. And the guy came and brought it out, and he met me at the hotel we were staying at. I took one driving it, and I was hooked. It had the Euro tune on it. It was 540 horsepower, and this car was unbelievable. This is me when I went down and just picked it up in Houston and was about to drive it back home. We stopped off, and that's my Escalade in the background there. That was the grocery getter. But I had to do a lot of paint correction on this thing to make it how I wanted. But just listen to it. Man, that was amazing. I loved that car. And if you look over on the other side, there's another one that shows up, Dodge Viper. So I ended up selling the C5Z06 because I just had my heart set on another Dodge Viper. And back then, these were actually still really affordable. And me and a buddy went out to Austin and bought this 99 Dodge Viper RT10. And there we are bringing it back. And I was just, I was not ready for how awesome this car was going to be, and I had so much fun. That's actually what started my YouTube channel, is the content for making the Viper, because, you know, I couldn't find any content on a Viper on how to do the stuff I wanted to do. I wanted to kind of fix it. Had a few cosmetic issues. I wanted to do some things to it, so I said, you know what, I'm just going to make my own channel and document it, if anything, just for me to enjoy. But I ended up putting the blue stripes on it. Here's the startup video. And the 99s had that cam in there, and it sounded so good, those little lumpy cams. I had such a blast with that thing. But I put the stripes on it, did a couple things with it, went to some car shows with it with the kids, and they had fun. And ended up trying to get some really good footage with my drone one time and crashed that into a tree and destroyed it. But that's the name of the game sometimes. And of course, there's the license plate I put on it, the Texas plate, Pet Viper. And I really, once I put those stripes on there, man, I was just completely sold with that car. I loved that thing. And the top was a pain in the butt to take on and off. It wasn't like the Corvettes that I've been used to, you know. That's like a one-man operation. But with this Viper, luckily I could get the top off by myself just because I'm tall and I have the reach. But really, to be safe, it's a two-man job. So, and there's nowhere to store it in the car. But that didn't matter, you know. I mean, I just took it for what it was worth, which was a, you know, basically just a muscled-out roadster. And it gives you all the raw power. And even by today's standards, that car was really still very fast, very thrilling. Loved that car. But I wanted to sell it and get me something a little more modern that everybody could enjoy. So if you haven't seen the father and son trip to pick up this car, check it out. But me and my son flew to Ohio because I bought this 2019 Scat Pack wide body, and I really wanted this car because it's still that modern muscle, but it has a back seat. I can put both kids in the car, and we can drive around and everybody can enjoy it at the same time. And that was just a lot more practical for my purposes. And it sounds great. All you got to do on it is a mid-muffler delete and you are good to go. I mean, There's tons of exhausts out there, tons of aftermarket parts for these cars. They're so amazing. Well, like an idiot, I sold it. 6 months later, I was angry at myself. So what do? You buy another one. And that's when we went up to AutoNation, North Richland Hills, and we picked up the car that we have right now, which is the 2021 Challenger Scat Pack Wide Body. And that's the one that's on the channel as we speak. And I'm so happy I went with the white. And of course, my son now, it's tradition, he's got to go with me to get all the cars. And I'm so happy that I got the white, because after having the black, I've had so many black cars, and every time I have a black car, I say I'm never gonna get another black car, because they're just so difficult to take care of. But the white is so easy, and honestly, it looks beautiful. I love being able to take care of it easily. I love the way it looks, and I really enjoy the white. And of course, right now I'm changing the interior out to set the car up exactly how I want it, because you know, when you're a car guy, that's what you do. Of course, there's nothing wrong with keeping it stock, but stock is not in my vocabulary. Thanks again for taking this trip down memory lane with me, and do me a big favor down in the comments. Write either what your favorite car was from this video, or better yet, what you drive. I would love to know. And of course, if you see me out and about, make sure you give me a honk and a wave, and I'll be happy to do something for you if I can. Mopar life.